How's it going, everyone? It's Dusty Tucker. How's it going, everybody? It's Dusty Tucker. I got some exciting news. Well, more so for me than you, but you get to see it anyways. Something came in the mail, finally, for me. And that is this bad boy. Not just the bullet, but the mold. I got another BigLube product. This is the Snakebite Greasewagon bullet. So I'm super pumped to have it. The full cartridge looks like that. It's like an elongated round nose flat point. This will work really well in lever action rifles. But the reason I wanted it was for my revolvers. I'm going to be shooting a decent amount of black powder projectiles in my revolvers. And I just want to have as much versatility as possible for projectiles. I want to be able to shoot whatever. And the guns that I have are rated for .357 Magnum, so you can put some pretty peppy stuff in there if you wanted. If you're going to be shooting this out of like a .38 Smith & Wesson, the bullet's a little bit heavy for that, but it's a 158 grain bullet without lube in it, so it's pretty heavy. I would say it's almost too heavy for .38 Smith & Wesson, but man, it's up to you. To each is their own. Anyways, so I'm going to be showing you how I load. I know I have another video on how I load black powder .38 specials, but this one's special to me. I had a hard time contacting the guy from BigLube, Richard. I had a hard time contacting him, but I finally got to him. I ended up doing a snail mail purchase order. It was kind of... I've purchased stuff. I've purchased 2 molds from him before. I have the Mav Dutchman 4440 200 grain bullet, and I also have the 45 caliber one as well. So I have 3 of them now from him, and I bought the first 2 in complete confidence, but I also bought them off the website with a credit card, so it was a lot easier. This one, I really wanted it, and I saw that I went onto the website there, and the website was down. I couldn't access the website. At first, I couldn't access it, and now it's like it doesn't even exist. When I type in BigLube projectiles or something like that, it just pulls up, like in Google, it just pulls up forums from like SAS and stuff. So I'm trying to figure out how I got his actual number. I still had his emails from back in the day, so that's how I contacted him, through email, and he gave me an updated number and everything. So I called him. He's a little hard of hearing. I think he's getting up there in age, but I didn't ask him what was going on with the website or anything. I just went straight to the point. I wanted a snakebite mold. He said he only will do over snail mail, so I snail mailed him a check, and it took quite a while for the whole process to. But by the time it went from Canada to the U.S. and then the shipping from the U.S. to Canada, and I had to pay extra shipping on top of that when it arrived. It was quite an ordeal to get this mold, and I'm super pumped to have it. It is awesome. The main reason I wanted this mold was so I didn't have to keep punching wads, and I have a video on loading black powder .38 special, and you see me putting 15 grains of powder or whatever, 18 grains of powder, anywhere from 15 to 18, and then a thick wad, and then a grease cookie, and then the bullet on top of that. And the bullet was only a 125 grain bullet, so it didn't have that much snap. I wanted something with a little more snap, and I didn't want to have to use a wad. So I did some research here. I printed out and laminated a sheet from GoX's website. I don't know. I haven't tried to go on their website in a while. I don't know if it's still there or not, but this data is from their website, and it says 38 special for 158 grain bullet, which is, this is what this is, but not the same shape, but the same weight, of triple F powder. 16 grains of powder will get you 870 roughly feet per second. So it doesn't say what barrel length anything is or whatever, but that's just for 38 special. Now I'm shooting out of a 357 Magnum, and if you know anything about black powder, it's compressed anyways, so it doesn't matter if it's a 357 case or a 38 special case with black powder, because it's compressed either way. If you're using a rifle, obviously, well, maybe you'd want to use a 357 Magnum case because it's a little longer and it might work on the carrier a little bit better than 38. But that is a pretty long bullet, so you might be able to get that to work on a 357 rifle. Anyways, so I go down to 357 Magnum. It's saying 160 grain bullet, but I'm going to be using the 158 grain. Triple F powder, it's saying 25 grains of powder is about 900 feet per second. So what I'm going to be doing is a reduced charge for the 357, but a plus P, if you want to call it that, for 38 special. So I'm going to be cutting the difference between 25 and 16. I'm going to be going a flat 20 grains of powder. So I have my data. Not that it's, if in my opinion, a 357 Magnum, if you're shooting 357 Magnum jacketed like factory loads, they're still a lot snappier than what I'm going to be loading for one, but they're going to be even snappier than 25 grains of black powder. So the pressures aren't even going to be close. So let's put that away. So what I'm going to be doing is taking 38 special casings, because I don't want to have to use a wad, and I have a crap ton of 38 special casings kicking around. And I have my powder measure by volume here set to 20 grains, and I even tested it on my scale, my electric scale, and it's calibrated, if you want to call it that. It feeds 20 grains, weight and volume. So what I'm going to do, this case is already primed, it's been sized, and the case mouth has already been expanded. So I'm going to assemble some of these. So I have a 1.3 cc scoop, and the 1.3 cc scoop equals about 20 grains. If anything, it's a little tiny bit over, but not in this case here. You can see that it's pretty well right in there. So we're going to assemble, YouTube doesn't like that word, and dump it in there. So we almost have it close to the top. I like to tap it down to make it all settle. I don't know if you can see that or not, but she's in there. So now I'm just going to go straight on top with the bullet, because there's plenty of room. I've taken a nail here, and I drew a line for the powder level, and I stuck it, and it's about here on the projectile. So there's a good gap there before, so you'll have compression. So I'm just going to seat this. I can actually hear it crunch, and there we go. So there is our 38 special. I can't wait to shoot these, and I got them sized to 357, and it takes a lot of material off, because these bullets from collected range scrap or recycled range scrap, or however you want to call it, it drops, and I drop them in water right away. It's cool water to give them a little extra hardness. But after sizing them, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see this process or not. You can tell that I always wipe off the bottom because I don't want any contact lube with the powder. You can see that it took off quite a bit of material. These drop at around 360. I've had some drop at 361, and I've had some drop at 357. Or sorry, 358. So regardless, they're going to need to be sized, and you can tell that it's from a fresh one here. I'll let you compare them side by side. It takes a lot of that crimp groove out, so they're almost too big for 357s. I don't know what else you could use them in. You could probably use them in Colt Police Positives, because I think their bore is 361, so that would work good for that. But anyways, so I'll load one more for you, I'll assemble one more for you. Watch this be my second warning now. I try not to do too many assembling videos on YouTube because I will get flagged for them. So yeah, anyways, all right, so we're gonna do that again. 20 grains with this 1.3 cc scoop, Lee dipper scoop, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna put that in the case. You want the black powder to you can't see what I'm doing. I know you can't see it, but give it a few taps to make sure she goes down all the way. Make sure you have case mouth expansioned your projectile. Seat it, crimp it. Remember to adjust your bullet seating and crimping stage on your die, because this is a longer bullet. So there you go. Can't wait to go out and shoot these babies. They should be a lot of fun. And another reason that I was going to mention earlier in this video, but I just either got sidetracked or just didn't mention it. The reason I want a big lube groove for black powder is longevity shooting, for one. Because there's a huge difference. I've actually tested this, and I should have probably made a video on it, but I never tested it. When I'm shooting black powder, I don't have an example here, but let's say I want to do a smokeless, let's say I want to do a smokeless 357 projectile, and I want to shoot black powder, but the lube groove is super tiny, or there's multiple really tiny lube grooves. I'm trying to find an example here for you, but I don't see any offhand. Let's say you have like a semi-wad cutter that has 3 tiny little lube grooves in it, and you melt that out, and let's say you put black powder lube in it, and then you do what I just did here. You go powder straight to the bullet, and you shoot maybe 12. Let's say you shoot them 12 times or something like that, and then you go to load it again, and as you're handling it, as you're manipulating the firearm, it's really gunky and clunky, and it's kind of scraping, and it's not running nearly as smooth as it should. Well, that's because there's fouling built up, and it bounces off the frame, off the forcing cone, and goes down onto the arbor, and it can foul up your gun, so it doesn't operate as smoothly. I used to have a Schofield, and even with this projectile shooting out of the Schofield, it still wasn't enough lube, and it would still seize up after about 15-20 shots. So the Schofield's notorious for actually not being that great for black powder anyways. You're gonna you'd be lucky to get 18 rounds off, maybe 20, before it starts to kind of seize up a little bit. I could never get a full 5 stages out of a Schofield without having to take it down and wipe off some of the crud and lube it up a little bit. Off track, I know, but kind of, but not really. I like big lube grooves because they help continue the process of shooting. They put lube in areas that it's not just for the projectile. I know lots of people think that for black powder, the lube is just for the projectile to get out and to keep the fouling down in the barrel, but that's not the case in for revolvers. It doesn't. All the lube doesn't just shoot down the forcing cone and out the barrel with the bullet. Lots of it gets blown out of the sides as well, especially with the lube cookie method that I did with the 18 grains of powder and then a thick wad, and then I just scraped off a lube cookie and then seat the bullet right on top of that. So I would have plenty of lube, and lots of it blows out the sides and down and all over the the areas where fouling goes as well. So what happens is that it's like an oiled machine. It keeps spitting lube in areas, and then the fouling, and then the lube, and then the fouling, and then it's enough to keep the fouling soft enough to keep the gun running for longer. So I just felt like I needed to explain that a little bit to some people, because it's like they don't understand why I like the massive lube grooves. And even more so now, I don't have to keep punching out wads. I would have this container full of these wads, and I'd be punching these out, these thick wads. Don't ask me what the material of this wadding is. I purchased them a while ago. They're nice. It's a nice felt of some kind. It's a nice compact felt, and I punch them out, and that's how I used to load them. So that was another process, right? I had to go to the garage and sit there with a hammer and a punch and go to town and punch out hundreds of wads. Now I don't need to do that. I can just go powder bullet. It's a lot faster to load. It's the same with the 45 Colts. I don't use any filler or any of that. I would say my 45 Colts are a light compression load. 38 Specials, light compression loads. I'm going under because for SAS you can't have over a certain volume of feet per second. You got to keep the velocities down for the steel targets, and for safety reasons. So I undercharge what you should be, because I know the 45 Colt, if I go back to this little chart here, for cartridges, 45 Colt, now they have two on here. I'm not sure why there's two of them. Oh, two different bullet weights. So a 247 grain bullet, 42 grains of powder, 750 feet per second. 45 Colt, 255 grain bullet. This is with double F powder. 40 grains of powder, 770 feet per second. So for me, I'm using a 200 grain bullet, and I'm only doing 35 grains of powder. And there's still enough room for compression in the case, so I can just go powder to bullet. Anyways, hope you maybe found something useful. Maybe you learned something. I don't know. I'm just putting that out there because I'm excited that I finally got the Snakebite Greasewagon mold. And let's just say one thing right now. I will be keeping these molds until the day I die, or until the mold gets to the point where it's too decrepit to cast anymore. Anyways, hope you found something useful. We'll see you next time. Keep shooting. Dusty Tucker signing out.